legends awake. Friday nights and Sunday games, we know all the biggest names. Huddled with the crew we trust. Football feeds the fire in us. Fans alive, we unite under the stadium lights. Every team, every score, we always hunger for more. Friday nights and Sunday games, we know all the biggest names. Huddle with the crew we trust. Football feeds the fire in us. Fan day mornings feeling alive. Jerseys on, we're ready to die. In the fan zone, we'll come on. Let's cheer loud, let's stand tall. Back and forth, the stories fly. Who's the best? Fans can't lie. Touchdowns, tackles, we discuss. Feel the rush, come join us.
Hey, once again, we are back. Excuse me. As always, got Tim Capper with me, and we got a great guest. This is our first player guest of the season. So, Jalen Morton, Tim, Jalen, how are y'all doing?
Great, you.
Doing excellent. Tim, what's been going on your way?
Not much, man. Not much. Just just watching Jalen do his stuff. Like I said, I have some interesting questions for this dude tonight, man. But hey, first, Jalen, I was watching you on the Vice broadcast and do your thing, and I know the score wasn't going the way that you wanted to, but I was still rooting for you. And when I heard you got pulled in the third, I was like, no. And the reason why is that you had 88 yards at that point. 88 yards rushing, which is something you don't hear about in arena football in any way, shape, or form. If you had continued the way that you had gone, and I know your colleague, your backup, Grissom was able to do quite a bit of rushing in the fourth quarter. You came close to basically setting the arena football record for rushing in by one player in one game, which is 100 yards.
Which is also quarterback, by the way.
Which is also another quarterback, Michael Bishop. I don't know if you know the name, but Michael Bishop did that back in 2005.
Okay.
In the old AFL, and you and Jarius Grissom, you guys basically, I would say unofficially, but I'll say officially and unofficially, you guys set the record for combined rushing by a team in a single game in arena football history.
Okay.
Yeah, because you were running all over the place that night. I mean, I was hoping, I wanted you to get those 12 yards, man. I really did. I was like, oh, did you know you had 88 yards?
No, I did not.
No?
I haven't even looked at the stats from that game. I watched the film, and that was kind of it.
Yeah. So close. I was joking with a couple of colleagues of mine. It's like, is there any way we can get your head coach to put you back in just for 12 more yards? That's all you needed was 12 yards.
Well, and it says something about the arena game specifically. Granted, this is technically a new league, all new records, all new everything. But it says something about the arena league that the record is 100 yards and that the record is held by a non-running back. But it also says something too a little bit about Southwest Kansas, how you guys play the game. You do play the game a little differently than traditional arena football, and you're not afraid to run the ball. You're not afraid to make some things happen on the ground, which is not normal in the AFL and now the AF1.
Yeah, and I guess the thing too, the good thing I guess for Jalen is that with his 88 yards, he now does hold the league record for
What's-
by most rushing yards in a single game. So I mean, it's still got to congratulate you about that, even though you didn't get to that infamous 100-yard mark. But but still,
So what is the season record, Tim? Do you know offhand? And I'm sure it's
season record.
our buddy in
Well,
Philly,
I know if we were to put
Eric
Jalen,
Ross.
if we were to put Jalen within the annals of history, his 88 yards puts him fourth all time
Right.
for a single game.
for a single game. Yeah, him behind, as I said, Michael Bishop. Jalen, I don't know if you know this name, Major Harris. I don't know if you know that name.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, and then Bobby Reed. So
Yes.
it's
Good company.
Yeah, very good company.
Very good company.
Considering what Michael did in the CFL too and stuff like that, I mean, he made a name wherever he went. So, Jalen, I know, as I said, you guys came into the game at 2-0, and I think if most people didn't watch the broadcast, or watch the entire broadcast, I think it's, considering, I know you guys lost, and we'll just leave it at that. You guys did lose the game. You guys are left 2-1 out of Albany, but I think what most people don't know is that you guys have traveled as a team so much over these past 3 games. How are you able to do what you guys did? Considering that it's been like 5,000 miles and who knows how many days? Because it's obviously it's not your days of the USFL, and it's not your days of the CFL where you're traveling by plane most of the time. But how are you able to come together and be able to play at the high level that you were, despite playing, I think it was 3 games in 14 days. But
Well, and that's a quarter of your season done by week 2.
I know.
Well, I mean, being in the CFL, they've done something very similar to that. I know, being with the Ticats for a couple of years, we've done games to where, like, okay, we have 3 games in like 17 days or something like that, or something close to that number. So I was kind of mentally and physically kind of trying to prepare myself for that journey. The traveling is different, but you have to get in where you fit in, mentally and physically, whether it's going to the gym, and going to the gym during those days that we came back. And for example, I think after Washington, we got back Monday at like 4 a.m. And then, personally, I don't really sleep like that. So got up, got a couple hours of sleep, then hit the gym. Had to do some recovery, hit treatment and whatnot, watch film on Albany of what we had, and then after that, just going through the process again of, Wednesday, doing the same thing over, just making sure my body's, up to par, to whether that's getting in a sauna or getting in a cold tub, getting in a hot tub, or, a cold chamber, something to that nature. And honestly, you got to be a pro. When you're a pro, just be a pro. And end of the day, you have to be ready to play at your maximum potential. And I feel like also the coaches helped us with that as well. Them on us saying, hey, go work out. Hey, go do this. Hey, go do that. Hey, just texting us, reminding us like, hey, you sleeping in bed all day, it can't happen. I understand we're sore. I understand we're a little tired due to travel and whatnot. But we can't let that happen. And, a crazy thing is, a couple of my teammates actually were stretching in the airport. They're like on the bus, stretching on the aisles. We're in the airport, probably taking up most of the airport. We have people walking up to us. Oh, what do y'all do? And, we tell them, and, as we're stretching, as we're massage gunning, as we're doing therapy, whether it's STEM or whatever, on our bodies to make sure that we're prepared. So I just want to thank, the coaches for that, and the owners, because at the end of the day, we had to go play a game, and we did what we had to do. And, things happen, but it's a learning lesson. So.
Yeah.
In Washington, you guys didn't even get in till, wasn't it 4:30 that morning before? So that's a brutal, absolutely brutal schedule for you. so far.
So we'll be okay.
Because I think probably the trip to Albany was a little bit worse because I think from Washington you guys went from Everett to Seattle and Seattle home, and then you guys go through Wichita, right? Is it through Wichita?
No.
No.
So basically that trip we went to Denver. So we went to Denver hours. Then the way it was 2 separate flights. And luckily but not luckily, I was on the second flight to where it was direct to Seattle. But a couple of people had to go to Phoenix and then Seattle. So we got to Denver. We're sitting in Denver airport for about 5-6 hours until until we got aboard. So like I said, we're stretching, we're trying not to get stiff, understanding that look, we're gonna have a game regardless, Then like you said, we got there at like 4 a.m. I think we played around 4, if I'm not mistaken, 4 or 5. So we couldn't sleep all day, but it's like you kind of wanted to. You got to make sure the jet lag doesn't hit different. You can't. You got to make sure you have your pre-workouts or your energy drinks or however that goes. So then after that, we had a flight. We had to be at the airport after that at like 3 a.m. Flight was at like 5. Yeah, and then we didn't get back to Dodge City because we had to fly back to Denver. We didn't get back to Dodge City until 6 p.m. that Monday. So,
well, see, that's just it. Just traveling to and from Dodge City itself is a little bit of a trek. I'm here in Kansas City. I was looking forward to going game this weekend, but not that late on a Sunday. That's a little rough coming home and going to work the next day. but yeah, I mean, it's just to and from Dodge City alone. Then if you're having to do that kind of flights, man, that's brutal.
Yeah.
Hopefully not too much more of that coming up.
No, I feel like to be honest, I feel like both flights or both games were kind of similar, and I say that due to like how we travel. Because then, Thursday we traveled literally all day. We went from Amarillo. We drove 4 hours to Amarillo to go to Austin, to go to Baltimore, and then go to Albany. And we didn't get to Albany until like 1-2 a.m. And it's just like, well, you've been sleeping all day because, depending on who you are, sleep on the plane, you're trying to get rest, you're trying to make up, whatever. So, yeah, it was a little brutal, but for most of us, we're healthy. So that's all. That's what the main goal was, to stay healthy.
You talk about jet lag, and as you said, I know you've done it when you're in the CFL, going from Hamilton to Vancouver and stuff like that. For you as a player, do you find it's worse going east or going west?
Oh, I find it worse. I find it worse going west. I think because you're ahead of time, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, you're ahead of time. So, and then if you're east, you can make up that time. But other than that, if you're going ahead of time, you're basically going quote unquote into the future. So
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, it's like if you were going to, when you're in Hamilton, when you went to Vancouver, to say the game started at 7:00 their time in Vancouver, it was 10 Eastern. So you were basically playing a game at 10:00 at night, so to speak.
So yeah, I mean, so to speak. I don't know. Me personally, I would like that better because I adjust personally better to that than okay, we're gonna go to what would it be Montreal? Let's say, would it be Montreal?
Montreal's the same time zone as Hamilton was, so we're Eastern time zone.
Okay. I mean, just somebody that's ahead of us, right? Or that would be ahead of the TICAS would be, I think, a little harder because, okay, now your brain has to adjust differently because you're like, okay, well, everything has to speed up. I think it's easier to speed things down than to speed things up. So,
well, it's kind of like what you did this past week. You gained time when you came to Albany. I think you'll be doing that one more time this year when you guys actually, I'm trying to look at your schedule now. When you guys, you're playing Nashville at home, so you guys are only really heading east
Right.
one more time this season. So you've basically gotten it out of the way, unless get to the playoffs and say if you have to go back east again. So
Hey, it says we'll be better prepared. I mean, we won't have basically 2 days, and to be prepared. So prayerfully, we have a true week to prepare for that. But like I said, things happen, and we went out there and we stayed healthy. That was the best thing for us.
yeah,
Well, and I imagine too, there's a little bit of a challenge. Here you guys are playing your third game, like I said, finishing a quarter of your season up against a team who hasn't played any games yet. You don't have any real film on these guys. You don't know what you're running into. You know they're going to be good. It's Albany. They're always good, but you don't know what you're running into, and they've seen what you guys have.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was a main thing, just playing our game, and whatever they throw at us, they throw at us. Our defense is pretty good at disguising stuff in practice, and that's why they have 12, 13 turnovers. I mean, in 3 games, I hear that's unreal in this profession. So,
Oh yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah.
to go against Albany. Albany was a good team. Don't get me wrong. Albany was a good team. They also were a month in training camp, and you could tell they were ready to fire off on somebody else, and and we were that team. So, like I said, the main goal is to stay healthy. Of course, we want to win games. Don't get me wrong. We want to win games, but after the traveling that we did, people get hurt. Stay healthy, play our game. And that was the main thing. Just play our game and just read the keys and whatnot, and go from there.
So what do you think of this game so far? This is new to you, right? You haven't played any type of indoor ball previously.
No, I haven't. This is something that's very, very new to me.
So what do you think? What do you think of this game? It's a little bit different of beast, or
It's definitely a beast. Don't get me wrong.
I think the good thing for Jalen, Scott, is that he's kind of gotten used to a little bit when it comes to the waggle and forward motion, because he had that in the CFL.
Yep.
I think also, I think this is the thing that's come up too, Jalen, that we wanted to ask you about, because we've noticed it depending on where you're playing in this in the AF1. Some quarterbacks are under center, some quarterbacks are in the shotgun. For you personally, though, if you had to choose one or the other, which would you rather do? And how much convincing would you have to ask coach in order for you to do it?
I feel like this is his offense, and that I'm just a tool that's able to do what I need to do to be in the offense. At the end of the day, if I was under center, it would be the same way. But we're in shotgun, it's the same way. So regardless if we were in shotgun or under center, I would adapt, because you have to do that in the NFL. You have to do that in the CFL. You have to do that, elsewhere. So it's just one of those things where you always have to be able to adapt. So if I had to go under center, hey, it's all good. You ain't coach say go under center. Hey, I've taken snaps under center. I can do a 7-step drop under center from under center. That's easy work. So then I think
usually don't get 7 steps in arena ball.
No, but I think the only adjustment from that is seeing it differently from under center than shotgun. You get a little extra cushion in shotgun to see things a little differently, and then of course offenses are run a bit differently when you're under center than shotgun. I doubt you're running stretch from under center when the tailback is behind you. So
yeah.
So that's always been a theory of mine, that in the past, shotgun just didn't happen in the old AFL. In my personal theory, never being a quarterback, so my personal theory is looking down, you got to watch that ball get into your hands before you can look up and figure out where to throw the ball.
Oh yeah.
It seems like that time lost is a pretty good chunk of time in this game that's so quick and there's so much movement at all times.
Oh yeah. I mean, with that, I feel like that's just more of hand-eye coordination as a quarterback, and as you get to them. I know with quarterbacks, we've gotten to a rhythm to where you see the ball's going and you just put your hands there. Or like if we make or if we're, let's say the ball is high and to the right. If I just put my right hand up there and I just, bring it down, but I'm still looking, still looking downfield. As long as I can grab it and get it, that's the main thing. If it's in your vicinity, you just use your peripheral vision for the ball, and then use your, of course, main vision for the defenses. So
it's a lot to keep track of.
I will admit, seeing him, a lot of the guys in shotgun, Scott, I think just what we were talking about at the beginning of the show, it's allowing Jalen to read the field a little bit more easier and decide if he's going to take off or not. Because, usually most of the time wide receiver will be open some way or another. But with Jalen now being a dual threat quarterback, he's able to basically keep the defense in check on what is Jalen going to do next. Is he going to pass it? Is he going to run it? And I think that's the best of both worlds when it comes to Jalen is the typical arena football quarterback. That's what you want in a quarterback. Mm-hmm. So, Jalen, we're talking about the game itself. Obviously, there are some unique aspects to the arena football game in the AF1. Have you started to practice at all when it comes to throwing the balls off the net? Because obviously, as everybody knows, you can use them to your advantage and try to get a pass to one of your wide receivers or to one of the eligible receivers. Have you tried practicing with that, or is it just something that once it comes, you're just going to allow it to come?
I don't think you can ever practice that. And I say that due to every net is different. It's not like or personally, I haven't seen a quarterback yet just, go to the nets and throw a ball off the nets. I'll be like, okay, well, if I throw it there, it'll bounce this way. And like, it's like Rodman with rebounds. Like, okay, well, it's coming like that, or it's going to spin back this way. So, I don't think I've seen any quarterback, do that. And like I said, each net is different. Mm-hmm. And let's say the net, you hit that specific spot on the net and it doesn't do what you need to do. Then it's an interception, So I think that's one of those things where like it's a one of a kind thing. You got to just let it happen when it happens or whenever it needs to happen. So
that's your Hail Mary, throw it where it goes and hope somebody comes down with it.
Or like how Albany was able to pull it off this weekend too. That one right off the corner. Then you're kind of right, Jalen, because I don't think anybody knew that ball was going to get to the corner.
No,
and then it came off like it did. So yeah. But
dude, we had one ball get stuck in the irons this week.
Yeah,
that happens occasionally too.
Jalen, if we could put together, arena football has been around long enough that if we could put together a highlight reel just of the crazy passes that have gone for touchdowns off the net, you'd be surprised, man, on what has been pulled off. It's been crazy.
Okay.
How many of those are intentional, though, Tim? How many of those were designed versus?
No. Well, what was it? Tony Graziani gets stepped on by his center and throws it off of his knee to the net for a touchdown. I think that's what it was.
I remember that. I keep looking for that clip. I can never find it.
Yeah, that's the type of thing that it was. I mean, Jalen, what got you into football? Were you always a quarterback? Were you always, or were you a dual threat? I mean, were you a dual sport athlete in university? What did you do?
For me, I've always been a dual sport athlete, but football has always been my passion and my love. I just remember being in the yard with my father, and it was funny. We were talking about this today. It was a blue ball, and I was maybe 10 yards from him as a 3-year-old, right? And of course he remembers this. And I was throwing a blue ball, and he said I threw it over his head and over the car and on the other side of the line. And as a 3-year-old, you're not supposed to do that. So, you kind of see something special there. So I always had a strong arm. Some people say it might be bionic at some times because either how hard I can throw or just because my arm doesn't really get tired. So football has always been, and quarterbacking has always been like my thing. Now, something that a lot of people don't know is that Peyton Manning is really the guy that I've looked up to, kind of him and Tom, kind of whole, time other than like, Culpepper or Cunningham, sorry. Cunningham and Michael Vick and those guys that, changed game, LJ and all of them. But when it comes to reading defenses and whatnot, when it comes to picking on those things, like I wasn't able to run like I am now. Trust me, I wasn't able to run. I wasn't able to get out of there, but I always had the smarts and the wits. I always knew how to get out of things without having to get out of things. And then just, as my later years came, I gained speed. I gained the power, the strength. Naturally, I just kind of grew into my body. But I definitely played baseball, and I was a pitcher and a center fielder. And I just kind of just let that be and let my brother have that, and he got drafted by the Braves organization. So
Oh, that's cool. That's
Wow.
cool. Okay. All
so
right. Did you enjoy your time at Prairie View? Did you have would you say you had a good college career?
I think I had a good college career. It was a eye-opening college career. Um, because I came in 2015 and left 2020, spring 2020, and that was a COVID year. That's the first COVID year. But that those 5 years, 1 year red shirted. The next year, I came in during homecoming halfway through the season and won the starting job because the starting quarterback tore his ACL. And then the next year, I got benched and was third string. And then my final 2 years, I was the starting quarterback for the next 2 years. Won MVPs, was breaking records and things of that nature. So it was like I didn't choose to transfer. I chose to stick it out, and I chose to stick it out too because 5 years and I got my mechanical engineering degree. So
Nice. Nice.
Excellent.
And also you were basically playing ball at the time where the transfer portal wasn't what it is today in any way, shape, or form.
not
Um,
at all.
I've asked this before from other players. Do you find, being that you were playing football during the different period of the transfer portal, helped you or hindered you? Because would you have transferred if you had had the chance, or are you not the type of person who would look back and say, I changed this just to do that?
I feel like everything worked out in God's plan. God has blessed me with this journey. God has done everything for me, and I've leaned on Him in all hard times and even the best of times. So I look at it like, oh, maybe I could have done this, maybe I could have done that, or maybe I should have transferred. But at the end of the day, I was always told by Eric Dooley, the head coach at the time for Prairie View, my last 2 years or three, no, 2 years, last 2 years, he was just like, you just need one set of eyes. And, he was under the Eddie Robinson era at Grambling. So he would always tell me, you just need one set of eyes. That's all you need. But during my time at Prairie View, I did have all 32 teams come and talk to me at Prairie View. They came, looked at me, talked to me. We had conversations, whether it was their top scout to they're not the top scout, or however that went. I can say, wherever I was at, I made teams come and watch me, and so I think I would say it would have hindered me if I would have been in this type of era, because okay, I can just go somewhere else. Like a lot of kids think that, okay, I'm not playing here, I can just go somewhere else, and then get stuck that in that portal to where nobody gets them. So I'm honestly glad I stuck it out. One, like I said, I have an engineering degree. Took me 5 years to get. Like, no joke.
That's nothing wrong with
But,
that.
but the thing is, though, it can't be taken away from you. That's the thing.
At all. So that, and then just I think that's more of a character thing. I think that's more of a character thing, and I'm not saying this for everybody, or I'm just saying for me. Like, it was a character thing. Everybody has adversity. How do you fight back through that adversity? And the year that I lost the job, whether I lost it or whether it was given or whatever, however you want to call it, the next year it was mine. The next year it was mine. So it was one of those things where like I had to handle adversity, and leaving the face of adversity. Who said it wasn't going to be the same thing at another school? You know,
Yeah.
so
So I got to ask, you got this degree in mechanical engineering. What are you doing here?
uh playing football, getting film, and you know, everybody, well, not everybody, but definitely trying to get back to, you know, the Green Bay Packers, the Indianapolis Colts, and things of that nature, or even the CFL. Like I said, before even coming here, I had maybe 5 or 6 teams, UFL and CFL combined, that I was talking to, and you know, it didn't happen, unfortunately. And you know, and this team reached out, and they were like, hey, you have a chance to compete for the starting job, and that's what you want to hear when, you know, when you're trying to play ball, when you're trying to get back, you know, to those leagues. You just want an opportunity. You know, you just want an opportunity to play ball, to show that you still can play ball, to show that, you know, like, hey, you take a chance on me, this is what you're gonna see, this is what's gonna happen. So
Yeah. Um, we before you came to Southwest Kansas, I mean, I know we talked about the weird game that is arena football. Had you ever seen indoor football or arena football before you started to play?
uh oh gosh, a little bit, but um what really kind of makes it funny is that I've kind of watched, and I say kind of, I've watched the underdog story probably like 10 times before even coming here.
Okay.
uh you know, the greatest show on turf, you know, or the greatest show, or you know, however you want to call it. You know, shout out Kurt Warner for, you know, what he did and how he did it. Um, and I already know that that movie could only sum up so much for what happened to him, you know. But he did what he did, and that's kind of how I saw arena ball. Of course, you know, it's a movie. It's a movie, but just watching YouTube, I kind of, you know, when I signed, I watched a lot of YouTube and how things go, and you know, still kind of wasn't familiar with all the rules until I got here. But as far as, you know, picking up and throwing the ball, or, you know, oh, the game is fast paced, it kind of feels like, you know, CFL, the waggle. So that's why when you see me do like the hand motion, it comes from the CFL. Like you know, and that's kind of, I guess, what helps as well, because when we're in shotgun and I can just do that CFL waggle, it's like, okay, that's, you know, that's just natural. And you know, timing is, you know, everything when it comes to this game. So it's the same thing, you know, when I was in CFL. You can't throw, you know, from far hash to the sideline, and that corner stays in the air, and that corner ball stays in the air to pick off. It's picked off by that middle safety or that half safety. The same thing in arena. They'll do the same thing. They'll run across the way to come get that ball you left in the air. So
Yeah, and it's funny, you know. So Scott, so Jalen's played not only in the 100-yard game, he's played in the 110-yard game, and now he's played in the 50-yard game. So I'm sure he's. It sounds like you've acclimated quite well to the 50-yard game. You just got to learn, you know, as you said, what to do and what not to do. So, um, looking throughout your career, and whether it be with, I guess we could say in university ball or whatnot, which coach of yours has left the most permanent mark on the Jalen Morton today? Was it somebody from college? Was it somebody from your time as being in camp in the NFL? Was it somebody from the USFL? Was it in the CFL?
I honestly, I feel like it's a lot of coaches. Every coach is different. You know, every coach is different. So if we're going from college, uh Willie Simmons, who gave me a chance, who came to one of my baseball practices and was waiting for me to get out the batting cage to say, hey, we want to offer you a full ride to Prairie View. You know, so him, KJ Black, that's with the Atlanta Falcons right now. I still talk to him till this day. I can call him to this day. That was that was a mentor for me at Prairie View until he, left. Bubba McDowell, that's a legend for Houston. He actually helped me out a lot with, just how defenses are ran and this, that, and the third, and also being a mentor. Now you have, Eric Dooley. Eric Dooley, Eddie Robinson era. He was the head coach, and like I said, he always tell me you only need one set of eyes. That's all you need. Then you have Ted White, that was the offensive coordinator / quarterback coach. Me and him would be face to face sometimes, just talking to each other. But that was our communication. We would be face to face and we'd just be talking to each other. But that's just how we were. And then you have Jonathan Williams, who's actually a quarterback coach now. I want to say out of South Carolina, A&T. I can't remember, but then he was like the last quarterback coach that was more chill. He was laid back, but he would, if he got on you, he got on you. And then just Green Bay, Matt LaFleur, he spoke some wisdom into me as a rookie. I came in with Jordan Love. So that, like I said, COVID era, and then Scott Milanovic and Marcus Brady in Indy, and Frank Wright. They spoke.
There's another former CFLer, Marcus Brady. Yep.
Yeah. So I kind of, I was kind of very, a little familiar with what was, in the Indy organization. And that was the Carson Wentz era, and I just kind of grabbed a little bit from everything. And even one of my time in the CFL, when it's Orlando and Tommy Condell, they gave me words of wisdom as well. And then you got the USFL / UFL when you got Zach Potter, who took a chance on me to come and get me from the CFL and the Birmingham Stallions, and we won a championship in 2023. So and then with Skip Holtz as well, he gave me some words of wisdom as well. And then now we're here, and so I can tell you right now that Gary, he hey, don't walk over a penny trying to get $1. So, don't go broke taking a profit, and basically, So, and he has a lot of sayings that I know I'm gonna take with me. And like I said, I kind of take a lot of things from everybody, and everybody has a different impact on me personally. And I feel like you can learn from everybody. So I don't think it's just one coach that just helped me out, that just, stuck with me. But I feel like it's multiple coaches that had multiple impact on me at the time of my life, to where it's like, okay, well, I need to develop in this area, I need to develop in that area, or I need to, do better in this area, or I can tone down in this area. So
speaking of, you mentioned American Underdog, and it's pretty well documented at this point that Kurt Warner's game evolved through playing in arena ball.
Mm-hmm.
It changed his mentality, how he saw the field. Is any of that kind of stuff rubbing off on you? Things that you're picking up on that you just hadn't quite done in previous? You've been everywhere. You've been on the giant fields, the normal size fields. Now you got this little mini game that you're in. So any of those kind of, anything you're picking up so far in this game that you think you can translate over?
Angles are everything. And I say that because seeing dudes, from Albany going over the wall to catch a ball. I haven't seen that.
That was a hell of a catch. Oh,
yeah.
Man.
Yeah. like we just talked about, when it bounced off the goal and he caught it. I was just like, you can't do it. You can't do anything about that. Other than that, I would say my arm. I have, great arm strength. But angles can also, equal out the arm strength, because you can't just always fit a ball in there, and that's on any field, but especially this field, 50 yards and what is 23-24 width. I mean, like I can throw it anywhere on the field, but it's all about the angle. When you got that jack sitting in the middle of the field and you have to throw over him, and he's 6'2", can jump a 39-inch vert, it's like, all right, well, all right, I gotta, put a little, touch on it and whatnot. And, in a couple of games, you've seen me do that. So just, I'd say like, angles, just the angles of everything, the type of ball that's needed. So.
was gonna say, you think about some of these old AFL greats, Tim. Guys like Andy Kelly. He was known for the touch that he put on the ball. He just kind of arced these balls up and over the defensive back and dropped in his receivers, or like a Ray Filia who had timing routes down to a science, where it was just step back, throw it to a point, your receiver better be there. And you didn't even have to look. You just step back and just threw it to a point.
Yeah, or even Sid Bonner as an example. Sid Bonner, what a quarterback obviously he was, and we were talking about Tony Graziani earlier, and Jalen's making a name for himself in arena football. That's for sure, man. And Jalen, you guys are on national TV for the second week in a row coming this week. It'll be your third time. I think it's no, second time. It'll be so you'll be on national television again this week. You are playing Oregon after a game a hell of a game that they lost this week. But I mean, it was a great game either way. What have you seen from Oregon, and what's the best way for you guys to be able to go 1-0 again this week?
Just be ourselves. Just go back to being ourselves and playing our game. I know Oregon, and I know Gary knows this, that they're gonna have a chip on their shoulder. They lost a game that was close, and any team would have a chip on their shoulder, after losing a close game like that. So we just got to be ourselves. We just got to play within us, and we just gotta score points, whether it's on offense or defense. So
yeah, get back to what you guys were doing. It said 11 turnovers, and it was 11 turnovers in the first two games, and then
7 pick sixes.
Oh, it was something.
It's just some ridiculous
crazy
amount.
Yeah, your guys' defense, Jalen, was just killing it.
Yeah.
So
I think they got a good chance to definitely repeating some of that success.
I do too. So I think, now that these teams have film and are able to see that Jalen is that dual threat quarterback, they're going to have to be very careful on how they're going to be able to cover not only him but the receivers this weekend. So it's going to be interesting, man. It will admit. And the plus is you don't got to travel. You're at home, Jalen.
Right, a little extra sleep if I then right.
Well, you got a home game, and then a bye week, and then the shortest trip you're going to get to Salina.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll be seeing you there. I'll be at that game for sure. So yeah, I'll definitely be looking for you. Man, it's like I said, I look at some of the just like I said, the style of this game. Like I said, you compare to the CFL, and the CFL is very similar. But man, that field is. You probably fit 4 or 5 of these fields on that field.
No doubt.
Like I said, I have a hard time processing how different that is. Like I said, functionally, yeah, you got the waggle, you got all the motion, you got all that going on. But like you said, the angles.
Yeah.
Going for that giant field to this shoebox, essentially. Is it that big of adjustment? Is this as big of adjustment to you as it is in my head? I guess what I'm asking.
It's ball, and as
game.
Yeah, it's just ball. And if you want to play, you'll have to be adjust. You have to adjust. Whether I get a call next week, tomorrow, whatever, and I have to go to the CFO or I have to go to the UFL, you have to be able to adjust. And the quicker you're able to adjust, the quicker you'll be able to get on the field. And that I think that's one of the biggest things, to where like, okay, this is a little bit smaller, but it's a lot of similarities in all of the games that I've been around. It just has its own unique rules, its own thing. So when it comes to that, hey, you play ball and you just do what you do. You play catch. You got to trust your teammates, trust your wide receivers, trust your O-line, trust your running back, trust the defense that you have on hand, and just be brothers with each other, just be camaraderie, and just trust the coaches as well.
So real quick, I think we're looking at I think Tim and I are gonna hang out for a bit here online, but we did have some questions in chat before we kind of wrap it up and let you head on out. I know you got a lot going on, and some of these things I think you did address, but just since they got asked, favorite quarterback growing up.
I want to say Peyton Manning, and I say that just because of how I was growing up. Now it's, of course, LJ, Jay Hurts is a close friend of mine, and Pat Mahomes. But growing up, it was Peyton and Tom because of their mind and how they read defenses, and I had to implement that in my game because I was not able to move like I'm able to move now.
So if you're starting a team, you need your quarterback at their prime, Peyton or Tom.
I'm going with Tom. I'm going with Tom. That's the GOAT. I'm going with Tom.
Fair enough. I'm curious your thoughts on this because I personally like it. What do you think about having your full name on the jersey?
That was a little different. And honestly, I didn't care. Whether we have no names, whether we have Storm on the back, and whether we have our full names or just our last names, I feel like it doesn't matter to me. Whether you'll look up the number or look up the roster and they'll figure you out. Now, I mean, that's different. That's like, that's you can start something with that. That's very unique. If we keep going with that, then hey, other teams might do it. But hey, I personally don't really care for that.
We had a guy here in Kansas City, and I thought this was one of the most brilliant moves for a player. At the autograph session at the end of the night, he'd take off his jersey, put it on backwards. When you approached him, you saw his name across his chest.
Right.
I'm like, man, that's genius. Because all these kids coming up, they see your number, they're looking at the front of you, they see your number, but the name might not be clicking with them.
Right.
Throw that jersey on backwards, it's like, oh yeah, you're him.
Yeah. So that's something I might have to do. Start doing.
So, and just a quick compliment out there too. That great running gut, nice runs during this game. Yeah, I mean, you really. I mean, wasn't the final result you were looking for coming into that game, but you had a great performance for sure, and keep doing that. You're definitely gonna be setting some all time records for the sport. I guess I should say, since it's not the league. For the sport, you'll be setting some records to keep up those kind of performances. So, Tim, anything you have for Jalen before we have him head on out on that?
As I said, it was just a pleasure talking to Jalen. It really was. I mean, the stuff that we talked about pre-game, pre-show and stuff like that. It was just great to know you, dude. And if I ever get a chance to come watch you play, I'll make sure that I come up and I introduce myself. But it'll be a pleasure to meet you, man.
It would be a pleasure to meet y'all. Thank you for having me on here.
All right, Jalen. Hey, appreciate your time. Like I said, Tim and I are going to continue on for a couple, but yeah, thank you so much. Definitely keep it up, and hopefully get you back on here again. Talk about some more records you break.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Thank you.
So, all right, take care. All right. So pulling up this week's schedule, Tim. So we just saw Southwest Kansas or Oregon coming to Southwest Kansas. That's obviously big one. Having Jalen on here today. I see that going very similar to how the game against Washington went for him. I see Washington, Oregon being fairly, especially after watching them this week, seeing them being fairly equal.
That game, the secondary game was very strange how it went. I mean, Washington scored 22 points, and then it was no, it was the other way around. Oregon scored 22, and then Washington scored 38, 35 straight or something crazy
35
like that.
to 6 at the end of the end of the game.
With all honesty, I think if again, as I mentioned a couple of times already, I think if Jalen's able to use his feet to his advantage, I would not be surprised if they score more than 20 points this time around, because it was just they get back into their normal schedule of a normal week.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, and again, they're on national television. So,
and I see that defense just eating up Oregon.
Oh yeah, I think they'll get back to what.
I
think they'll get back to what they were normally doing. I wouldn't be surprised.
And good for Washington for pulling off that game this week. But I hate to be too critical, but with the piss poor clock management at the end of that game.
Oh my God, the game should have been. I mean, it was like are they going to remember the go forward for a yard? And It's like
The comment, the play-by-play guys didn't, but
no, it seemed to be going okay, but then what was that one play with like 18 seconds left? The receiver caught the ball and then went out of bounds.
oh, the quarterback ran out of bounds.
Or the
And
quarterback, yeah, it was like,
and then they're passing the ball incomplete. And
what?
just run the ball up the middle, tush push, and you're done.
It didn't make any sense. It didn't make any sense, and it gave Oregon
Washington
a
didn't
chance to
deserve to win
tie
that
it.
game.
So
Yeah, Washington did not deserve to win that game.
no,
Just based on the last minute alone. And like I said, I hate to be crazy critical, but man, they got to get that. Well, the 1 minute, the 1 minute time rules are so important. And I've seen teams screw that up before, but not like that. Washington's got to get that part figured out for sure.
yeah,
'Cause
exactly.
They almost did lose that.
Hey, and Southwest Kansas gets to debut their home uniforms this week.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, 'cause well, it's the first home game, and then the first week they didn't have them at all. So
No,
who else we got this week? We got Salina at Corpus.
that's basically a rematch from 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't know what to expect out of that because I guarantee it will not be the same Salina team that we saw 2 weeks ago.
A lot can happen over 2 weeks. I still think that that Corpus is a better team.
Mhm.
But
I
again,
expect it to be much more competitive than
right?
previous.
Yeah, but as we've seen, the way that week two ended up, with the Washington Oregon game. Hopefully that'll carry over, and then obviously then the other game is Albany traveling to Nashville, and Nashville's home opener.
And man,
We don't know who's
seen
going to be
Albany
their
this
quarterback.
week?
We don't. Well, remember, Coach Arbette was basically it was a preseason game for them, their very first game of the year in week 0.
Mhm.
Let's see who's going to be their starting quarterback. If it is any of the two that were there in week 0, I have to go back and check their rosters. But I'm sure Coach Arbette will have them ready.
Yeah, I was definitely surprised by the turnovers in that first Nashville game. Yeah, that Albany team looks good. I mean, that's all it comes down
I
to.
know.
That Albany team looks real good. I mean, I think we got pretty clear picks. It's a matter of how close these games are going to be.
Yeah, that's true. Thoughts on Albany's uniforms?
They're sharp. Little Bengals. They remind me of the Bengals with the especially from the back where they had the orange stripes coming off the back of the shoulders, from the back of the wing.
Yeah.
But they're slick. They're slick. I'm not gonna say I'll absolutely love them, but they're definitely solid. I would like to see them go with an orange. I think black gets overdone a little bit.
Well, remember, like with what Steve Titus said a couple weeks ago to us, they have a third jersey, and it's my understanding too. And please correct me if I'm wrong, Adam, that that some teams do have third jerseys. So we know Billings does. They have their gray ones, their gunmetal gray ones. So I wouldn't be surprised.
Orange jersey would be sharp.
Well, considering, if you think about it, I don't know if you noticed or anybody else who noticed it on the broadcast, is that the Albany pants were almost identical to what they wore in their championship season, and they also had the little their bird head logo on the pants also. So if you pair those with a all orange jersey, it's almost a perfect throwback. Almost a perfect throwback.
There you go. So Brian is asking a question in chat, and I don't know that we have the answer, but what's going on with the ticketing? Have you heard anything about ticketing in Nashville?
Yeah, they went on sale today. They're
officially on sale.
They went officially on sale today. Saw it on their socials. I think there was some misunderstanding that they were, I think, on sale earlier in the week. I know there was a link specifically off their Ticketmaster. But if they are offering tickets, I think it's you buy one ticket, you get another one for $5, if I remember correctly. So,
yeah. So I mean, not expecting a very highly attended game, obviously, with the slate of a start.
Dude, you never know. Walk up depends on
somewhere.
the city with the walk up crowd.
Yeah, depends on walk up, depends on weather,
Mm-hmm.
depends on a lot of things, but it's there, and that's just it. It's get everything off. Nashville got kind of behind the 8 ball this year with having to resell the team to a new owner and some ownership issues, and that kind of delayed things. Obviously, definitely some communication issues with the arena. I hate to say it, growing pains.
Yeah.
But the one thing I like specifically about this week, it's the kind of thing we were talking about. Who should we bring on this week? We didn't have to bring on an executive to clear things up this week.
That's true.
That was nice. That was real nice.
That is true.
I as much as I love having those guys on, they're great. I hope to not have to have them on to clear things up anymore. Hopefully that's the last time we ever have to do that again.
It's nice. It is nice to have owners on. I've not spoken to quite some of the owners in podcast or in show form yet. It would be nice to have them on just to talk.
Sure.
But yeah, I agree.
Not have to grill them with this went wrong and that went wrong. And what about this? And what about that? To not have to worry about that is it's nice. A nice change after the last year plus. So
Exactly. So I think, as I said, it's being able to just continue talking to the players, seeing what they think about how they're playing each week, whether it be, any part of any team, really. I mean, it's great to have the Steve Tituses or the Gary Comptons on, but it's also nice to be able to talk to the players who are currently now playing. So, but hey, maybe let's get a coach on. Coach Arbet. We can get Coach Arbet on. We can get Coach Ware on. Whoever is available and is willing to come on.
And yeah, everybody knows how to reach us too. If you guys want to come on, give us a shout. We'll definitely get you on. But yeah, no, it's like I said, it's just a nice change. I like to not have to worry about, man, all these things went wrong and we got to air all this stuff. So man, good change for once, right?
Yep, I agree. I was going to do something before. I don't know if you have them available to me because I'd have to take everything off and go get them. Did you, obviously, if you're watching this, you may or may not know about the new line of 1987 pins that have been created by Pinforce, which is the sister site to the Fan Sets, the site that does all this stuff for Star Trek and stuff like that. Do you have? Can't remember. Have you gotten yours yet?
I have not gotten the pins yet, but I can pull up the website real quick. We can share that with everybody here.
I can get mine here. Just give me a second. Give me a second. I will get mine.
So while he's getting his, I'll go ahead and pull up this site. These are cool. Long time AFL fan, Lou. He's kind of behind this. If you know the old AFL, the Colorado Crush, Lou. And this is what he's starting. He's got a couple Denver Dynamite coming up here in Washington. Chicago Bruisers and Washington Commandos are coming soon. And yeah, it's slick. You got yours pulled up here?
Yeah, I see it.
There we go. All right. So yeah, so you got yours in?
I did. Yes, I got them here.
All right. So let's check this out here.
So these things, okay. Everybody thinks of regular pins and stuff like that. I'm trying to use something as an example. I don't even have any Canadian change on me that I could use. Here, I'll use this as an example. So here's my cell phone. Here's the size of the pin.
Oh, that's slick. And it looks good too.
They're a monster. They really are. I think they're like 2x2, if I'm not mistaken.
But so get like full cork board and
these things are nice. These things are nice. I mean, I'll take the helmet off. I'll get the others here. So they come with it's just regular pin backs. I think they made of silicone.
I like those better anyway, those metal ones.
Here's what do they call? I can't remember what they call these sheets. What's that they come on? Could we call it a pin board, I guess?
Yeah.
But the cool thing is, and I don't know if it's going to...
the back of that, it shows what he's going to be doing. Is that what else is coming up?
Well, look what it looks on the back.
Oh, wow.
The Arena League logo. On all the pins.
That is slick. That is very, very slick.
And Pinforce releases them every month. Or they're releasing them every month for the 1987 season.
So what's the back of that card? It looked like there was other...
Oh, yeah. The teams that are coming out. The next one's going to be Pittsburgh Gladiators, and it's going to be the Chicago Bruisers, and then it's going to be the Washington Commandos.
So I'm curious whether he's going to be doing the jerseys as well.
Oh yeah, I have one. I'll show
Okay, yeah, the website doesn't have one specifically. Have a link specifically for the jersey.
They've gone through 3 iterations of them, and I think there's a 3rd iteration because the company, the higher ups at Pinforce aren't happy with how they came out. Here's the logo.
I don't know what they're not happy about.
There's the logo.
Yeah.
Pin. It was how the jerseys were. They weren't happy with the jersey.
Okay.
How it came out. There's been 3 iterations. I don't remember which one that is. Here's the Arena League logo. I love this one. God, I love this one.
I've got a small one.
As I said,
my little arena badges. Yeah, but that's awesome. That is very cool.
Okay, here are the 2. I guess we'd call the first one a prototype. I guess. See the differences?
Okay. So do you know which one they're going with?
Yeah, this one.
Larger one?
Yeah, the larger one.
Yeah, that's cool.
I think we were told that they felt that this was like a crop top.
Well, back in '87, that's probably pretty accurate.
Yeah, I know. No, from my understanding, if I think it's on the website, the one here now has the Arena League logo up here like it did for the jerseys.
Oh, cool.
For that year. I think it was actually on the arm, but you can't really put them on the arm.
Right.
But again, they're available now. You can buy them in a set, buy them separately over at pinforce.com. I think it's pinforce.com.
Pinforce.io.
Yeah, pinforce.io.
Let's see. I'll see if I can put the link here in chat. Yeah, no, like I said, I've got some of his pins he does from his other company, and yeah, they're quality. They're real quality.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah, and again, the sister site of Fan Sets, and that's the company that has the again, same company, same owner, same owners. They're the ones that have the contract for CBS and all things Star Trek.
Yeah. Like I said, he's done incredible work. Like I said, huge arena football fan, creator of the largest fan club in arena football history, Club Crush.
Yep, Club Crush.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not here. I'm not here today, right now, doing this if it wasn't for Club Crush. Yeah, we got our team in Kansas City. They brought me under their wing, kind of showed me how they did some things, and I just kind of grew from there. So. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm not here today without Lou and what all he set up in Colorado. So, yeah, I need to get this set ordered ASAP because I'm dragging my feet and I just need to do it.
Well, if you wait till April, you'll be able to get the Gladiators and the.
Yeah, that's just going to cost me that much more to do that. I got to do something. I got to space these out. So, anyway, yeah, like I said, this week's games. Man, I wish I could say I was more excited how they turned out. I'd be lying to you if I did. You had one that just wasn't really competitive. Good performances, wasn't really competitive.
No, again, the games ended up the way they were for me. All that mattered, with all honesty, considering all this snark back and forth of everything being under a paywall for another certain indoor league. Seeing how good the national televised game was on Vice was amazing.
I love how they're doing. I don't know. Most people know that Ari and Seth aren't there. They're not actually at. They're calling these games remotely, and the screens they have set up behind them. It looks
that's cool,
phenomenal. Yeah, they really have that. They really have that down well. Like, I'm excited to just see as this production goes. There's supposed to be, from what I understand, I hear there's more Vice content coming, but I haven't heard a recent update on that.
That's my understanding too. I know they're pushing. I think what Vice really, it seems they've been more known for their dark side of the ring type of stuff for like wrestling, and I know they have their new season premiering this week, I think. Mm-hmm. But they got so far so good for for a company that really is just starting up their sports division. They've done a pretty good job. So.
First ever live sports on now at 2 networks, right? Because Evergreen hadn't had live sports either.
No. I got corrected, by the way. I will say,
Okay.
I just at least give a quick caveat to last week, or a quick correction. They did some live, I think it was either MMA or boxing or something to that effect, but I don't think it was as often as it is. It wasn't a weekly thing.
As a special.
Yeah, exactly. So
fair enough.
And we did some questions last week, by the way. I think I was doing this week. I think some people are asking us, I wasn't able to see the Vice game. I won't be able to see it. That's actually not true. As soon as as Vice's exclusive window expires, you will see the Vice game on Evergreen now in its entirety. So besides their condensed games that the league is doing.
Excellent. Well, and I'm going to throw out one more link. This is not something, that's affiliated with us, but Friendly TV, throwing that in the chat as well. That is the cheapest way I've found to get Vice if you don't already have it. We're about just getting the game out to as many people as possible. Their plans start at $7 a month. So if you want to call it a paywall, fine. It's not exclusive to the league.
It's not really a paywall.
It's just another subscription service.
No,
it's a subscription service. You get way more than just our games. A lot more channels and stuff in there.
Yeah.
So anyway, so $7 a month. It's a pretty solid deal, even if you only get it for the 3-4 months while the league's going. Cancel it after that. Yeah, it's a pretty solid deal. That's how I'm watching the games, because I'm with YouTube TV and it's not part of the YouTube TV package.
It was better. It was better than the bait and switch that happened this weekend from the other league. First 2 or 3 minutes on YouTube, and then they pushed you to their service.
I heard about that. So it's just, hey, here's a little taste, and if you want to watch the rest, good luck. So hey, whatever. I mean,
whatever.
If that's how they want to do things, hopefully, player pay increases since they're making all this money off the paywalls.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, exactly. Anyhow, so yeah, I mean, I think this week I think it's pretty easy to make picks, but I think it'll be a lot more competitive. I think than what we have seen so far.
I think so. It'll be nice. It'll be nice to start getting some parity within the league itself. Again, I don't have access to the betting app from where I am, so I don't know what the lines are. But I honestly wouldn't be surprised if Albany is favored by a lot, at least 10.
Yeah.
But again, I can't really speak to it. But I think if any of the games that might be kind of lopsided, it might be that one. But then again, last year when Albany went to Nashville, it was a low scoring game up into the fourth quarter.
Well, I mean, like I said, I see Salina being much more competitive with Corpus. I see that one being a closer game. Let's say they put the line at 10.5 for Albany, Nashville. Where do you go with that?
Right now, just basing it off of 1 week with preseason Nashville, I would probably take the points right now. I would bet Albany either way. I think straight up.
Yeah, Albany straight up. 10. It really just depends on what Nashville does at quarterback.
Yeah.
If they've got a solution at quarterback, which our bet's not going to go all season throwing.
No,
if this quarterback throwing that many interceptions. So, yeah, does he have it fixed by week 3? Hopefully. He's had 2 weeks off, so hopefully he's got somebody in place that can fill that gap, and they're looking a lot better. Yeah, still Albany straight up.
Again, it depends on where the Orlando quarterbacks went to. It's very possible. We don't. I don't know where either of them went. So could they have been signed by our bet? For sure. Yeah,
and then if anybody's going to find a diamond in the rough out there, my money would be on our bet to find that guy. So.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Exactly. And then you got Oregon and Southwest Kansas. Like I said, we kind of touched on this earlier. Southwest Kansas, I think that defense is going to be difficult on Oregon.
Yeah, I think I think the Southwest Kansas that we saw in week 0 and 1 will reemerge.
And then, so yeah, I hate to look at this from this perspective, but who has a more lopsided game, Albany and Nashville, or Oregon and Southwest Kansas?
Albany, Nashville.
You think Albany, Nashville?
I think Albany, Nashville.
I'm almost tempted to say Southwest Kansas.
I don't know. As I said, double threat with Jalen. Will they use it again? I guess it depends on what his reads are. Because
will they need to?
Well, he used his legs to a big advantage last. Even though they only scored 20 points, but I mean, still, 88 yards is nothing to sneeze. Nothing to sneeze
sure.
at.
I don't know.
And it was 120 some odd combined between the both of them.
It was pretty sick.
So,
and that credit to the coaching staff. I mean, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to bring in some more of the running game, some more of the outdoor game into the arena.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, it's working. It didn't work in a win this week, but so far it's working for him. I mean, he's 2-1. At the quarter point. If they end the season at 8-4, that's not bad.
No.
So yeah, we'll take it. But anyhow, that's pretty much all I've got for tonight. I don't know if you had anything else you want to touch on, or
no. I just wanted to make sure that we gave a shout out to Pinforce, because I think those are cool. So.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and definitely, hopefully all these links are coming through and people can see this after the fact. But yeah, definitely jump on those sites. Friendly, if you want to get the Vice games for relatively inexpensive, and then Pinforce to check out those pins. New ones are coming monthly. So yeah, at least for the next 4 months or so. But yeah, we'll have to do this again next week. See if we can get lined up to join us next week, and then so I'm excited for the games this week. I think if nothing else, they'll be entertaining. I think all 3 of these games will be very entertaining. So
fingers crossed.
Right, and Friday, Saturday, Sunday, no overlapping games. 3
That's
games,
true.
3 days in a row. Hey, I'll take that any day. So,
yes, sir.
Anyhow, Tim, thank you as always. Thanks again to Jalen Morton. It was great having him on, picking his brain. He's kind of seen a little bit of everything.
Yes, sir.
So, all right, guys. Thanks for everybody tuning in, and we will catch you again next week. Till then, take care.
Touchdowns, tackles we discuss. Feel the rush, come join